Black businesses in Connecticut.
Absolutely. So it's Black History Month.
Right. So
So
are we recording now?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. So it's Black History Month.
Mm-hmm.
So we have been visiting Black-owned businesses all around the state, and of course, one of my very favorite things to do is to visit woman-owned businesses. So I'm so happy to be here at this beautiful Black female-owned business. So thanks for
Thank
having
you.
me.
So, ladies and gentlemen, we are speaking with the Lieutenant Governor of Connecticut, Susan Bysiewicz. And of course, she's visiting us today here at the Writery Inc. and of course, Optima Gold Radio. And so we are happy to be able to host you today. We appreciate your support of Black businesses.
Absolutely, and for people who are listening or watching and wondering why should they come to a Black-owned business, well, first of all, there are some amazing and creative businesses in our state. But for every dollar that they spend at a business like yours, most of that dollar will stay right here in the community because you will be buying goods and services for your business, supporting other businesses, and supporting other charities and organizations in the community. So I always encourage people to shop local, support local businesses because this is really the backbone of our economy, but also the backbone of our communities.
Exactly. Exactly.
And if you come to the Writery, it will be like nothing that you've experienced
Right.
before, because here's a business where they host a radio show. It's also a business where you can buy books by authors that you've helped.
Exactly, local authors and others.
And
Right,
others,
right.
and others. There is a beautiful alcove where you can shop for books. There's a special section for children's books,
Yes.
right? And if you're one of those people who've always had in the back of their mind an idea for a book, like we were just talking to a woman who has some ideas for children's books. I think your son, by the way, can illustrate.
He's an illustrator. Yeah,
I see a
illustrate.
collaboration right now. I
Yes,
see
yes,
it.
yes,
I see
yes.
it.
Yes.
If you're a person who has an idea, but you've never quite gotten to the point where you put finger to computer or pen to paper,
Right.
they should
This
come
is what
visit
we
you.
do. Exactly.
Talk about what you do.
This is what we do. So we
See, I'm interviewing you now.
Okay, I love it. It's a conversation. I like to think of it as a conversation. So what we do here at the Writery Inc., we offer editing services. But not only that, we start from beginning. So if you, like you said, you have an idea and you're not sure how to go about it, what you should do with it, then that's what we do. So we have a consultation and we give you ideas on where you can take it. So like one of our authors you just met, Rick Collins, he started out with an idea and now he has 7 books.
I saw each of those 7 books are
Right.
out on the front table.
Right. The
It's
moment
amazing.
after we spoke with him, he just took off. He retired and he just took off. And then it's like he hit 7 books later and he's working on
And
number 8.
tell me about those books. There's one on eating good and bad food that I thought was intriguing.
Right, good eating. So that one is stories based around eating bread, about
Okay.
eating. So it's different anecdotal bits of information about around food.
Food.
And some of it is comedic, it's funny, and others are painful. So, he goes through the gamut of emotions in that book.
Interesting.
Another of his books, which is really, really very, I would say, painful, because we did the editing on that. We worked on that. And that's part of what we do. We edit books, proofread and format and get them ready for publication. His book called The Witch of November. It's about the Fitzgerald, I think it's called, that sank. And
the
everyone
Edmund
perished.
Fitzgerald,
Right,
yes.
right.
Okay.
And that was painful because the story is fictional, but it's based on factual events. And the main character really ends up on on the ship as
Mhm.
a stowaway, but somehow survives to tell the story.
Interesting.
And so it really is painful. And he actually connected with some of the the relatives of some of those who
So he
had
did
passed.
his
So he did his
research.
right.
Interesting.
So what we do is we take you from concept to production, and so while we don't literally publish books physically here, we work with you to get your
To the
story
point
out
where you
there.
can get it published.
And we've done fiction, nonfiction, we've done children's books, we've done inspirational books.
I think you
So
have another client out there because she was talking about
an idea
for a children's book, and she said though, the part she wasn't comfortable with, she had the idea.
Mhm.
She's telling us about the idea, but she needs an artist. So that's an example of a person who could come to you
Right.
and you could help them
Exactly.
take the idea to the reality of a children's
Exactly,
book.
and that's exactly what we do. We also do ghostwriting. So if you need someone to write your story for you,
Mhm.
that's part of what we do. So we offer so much. We do the book covers,
Have
book
you
cover
done
design.
autobiographies or
Yes.
biographies
Oh
for
yes.
people? Interesting.
In fact, one of my I think the one that stands out to me is a book of an Afro Caribbean in Nazi Germany, Nazi
Wow.
era. And basically, it's a story of a gentleman born in the Caribbean who ends up as a prisoner of war in Italy first, and then gets shipped to a death camp in Austria.
Oh dear.
And so his daughter, Mary Romney, who is the author of the book, for years, she didn't know her father's story. She just knew when she asked him anything about his life, that period during the war
Was never mentioned.
was never mentioned. He was so traumatized by his experience that he ended up not talking
He
about
survived a
it.
death camp.
He
That's
survived the death camp,
amazing.
and that is what is amazing. And what is even more amazing is that he was from the Caribbean. He was a black man from the Caribbean. So how did he end up there, and how did he survive? So we've had some really interesting stories. Like we talked earlier about the death of the Republican Party in Connecticut and beyond.
Yeah, I did not write that. Just to be clear.
And that is one of the most intriguing works that I've worked on because it's almost like a manifesto, but it's, as we worked on this book, we recognized that it wasn't just for one party. It's the
Could apply to
information
other
presented could apply
organizations,
right.
businesses,
Exactly,
groups.
because one of the most interesting points about it is that as a group, as an organization, you have to define yourself. And once you define yourself, that is your guide to how you operate. If you do not define yourself, you will do things that are out of character of your party or your organization or your group. And so, even though it's titled The Death of the Republican Party in Connecticut and beyond, the information is still valid and valuable for any group or organization that might be going through an identity crisis, which is what I think is happening now. Hence the need for a book like that.
Interesting.
Yes.
Interesting. I noticed that Senator McCrory bought that book.
Yes, he did. He did. He's excited to read it. So, we're happy that at the Writer Inc. that this is a service we provide because so many people come to us not knowing what to do. Some people go far and wide and they spend tons of money.
I think everyone, if you ask them,
Yes.
if you could write a book, what would you write about? And I think just about everybody could
Yes.
come up with an idea.
Exactly. In fact, during the pandemic, my alumni association, we were meeting on Zoom on Friday nights. And so one night, one of the ladies presented and she asked the question, if your life was a movie, what would be your title? And so out of that, we created an anthology of women's writing that actually turned out to be a fundraiser for our high school. our alma mater.
And what was that?
And so the book, it's Montego Bay High School in
Oh,
Jamaica,
okay.
and so it's an all girls school
Say that again.
And
in
so-
Jamaica.
in Jamaica.
Okay, I like the way that sounds.
In Jamaica, and so what we wrote about was stories of inspiration and praise. So the woman talked about some of the things the experiences they had and how they triumphed.
So, speaking of the Caribbean and people who've come from the Caribbean to Connecticut, one person we've highlighted this month of February, but we'll be highlighting next month because next month is Women's History Month, is Constance Baker Motley. Her
Right.
parents were from Nevis
Mm-hmm.
and they immigrated to New Haven. They had 12 children. She was the youngest.
Wow.
Her mother should be up for sainthood, by the way. And she became a trailblazing lawyer,
Yes.
politician,
I saw
and
that.
judge.
Mhm.
And this month, they dedicated a stamp
A stamp to
in her
Mhm.
memory for Black History Month,
Yes.
and they dedicated it in New York because she sat on the Federal District of New York Federal Court. But they also did dedications in Connecticut and New Haven and Chester because
Right.
she lived in New Haven,
Okay.
right around Yale,
Mhm.
and went to New Haven public schools. And then when she became a judge, she and her husband would come to Chester for the weekends. But what's remarkable about her was
Mhm.
she worked with Thurgood Marshall at the NAACP
Wow.
Legal
What an
Defense
honor.
Fund, right?
Mhm.
And she ended up arguing 10 cases before the Supreme Court
Mhm.
to help desegregate schools in the
Right.
South.
Mhm.
So colleges like the University of Mississippi, Alabama, Oklahoma, Florida, and Clemson,
Right.
she helped desegregate by representing Black plaintiffs who wanted to go to those schools.
And what is interesting is that we haven't heard much about her before, and
This
this
is
is
the
why
point.
what we're doing is important
Mm-hmm.
in highlighting the contributions of blacks.
Well, especially Black women. And by the way, why haven't we heard of her? It's
Exactly.
because she was right there representing Martin Luther King,
Mhm.
working alongside Thurgood Marshall, but she was a woman.
Right.
So that's my argument, and that's the argument of the author of a book about her called Civil Rights Queen, that Constance Baker Motley her name should be among those.
It's a household name.
Right. She should be in what the author says the pantheon of civil rights leaders
Yes.
in America because
Yes.
of what she did.
Right. I think for too long we have had these unsung heroes just being in the background.
Mhm.
And you might hear of them, I might hear of them, but they're not a household word.
Right. Children in
may-
Connecticut should know
Right.
about her, but
Mhm.
people all over the country
Yes.
should know about her
Yes.
because she was in courthouses all over the South.
Yeah.
Trying to desegregate lunch counters,
Mhm,
buses,
mhm.
schools, parks, and she lived this incredibly remarkable life. And here's the other interesting thing about her. In 1964, she was the first Black woman elected to the state Senate in New York. And then the next year, she was elected Manhattan Borough President,
Wow.
first female,
Mhm,
right?
mhm.
And then in 1966, Lyndon Johnson appointed her to the federal court. So
Right.
she was just an amazing
Exactly.
woman.
And so I think it's time for us to change the narrative. We've heard of, Rosa Parks and, all of those names that are now, everyone knows them. We can recite who they are. But names like Motley
It's interesting.
are
That's
they're not
right.
here.
That's
But
right.
It's time for us
That's right.
to change that
And
narrative.
Rosa Parks and maybe Coretta Scott King are women's names that you hear, but there were so many other women that played key roles, like Constance Baker Motley, that we don't talk about. So
Right.
That's for another show.
That's for another show. Wow. And we started, with a quick conversation, but it's turned out to be so much more.
Thanks so
We,
much for
we'd
having
love,
me.
I mean, we'd love to have you back to have
Sure.
some more of these conversations
Absolutely.
because we need them. We need them. As you met one of our authors earlier, and we talked about it. The fact that we don't have enough open and honest conversations on race. And this is where misunderstandings occur because, you know, um, we joked about it, when we first met about some of the stuff that we heard about each other's race. And we'd be like, no, 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 no. This is what the reality is. And so, because of the open, honest conversations, we understood each other better. And I think this is part of what we need now. And we also need to change the narrative so that we hear more about these unsung heroes.
Well, thank you so much
I
for
thank
having
you
me.
so much
Appreciate
for
it.
being with us here on Optima Gold Radio and visiting the Right. Have a wonderful day.